Mr. Houseworth have filed motions with respect to the oldest child, Zayden. And so we're here to hear the mother's motion to reunify with all three of the children, I thought.
No, sir, just that on.
Mother?
Yes, sir. Ms. Crane filed first. With Evan Battle filed.
Mr. Houseworth filed for temporary custody of Zayden. And then mother filed to reunify just with Zayden. I'm sorry, I thought she was asking for all three of them, but Ms. Crane, the attorney for Mr. Houseworth, Ms. Miller, the guardian ad litem attorney for the child, the mother, Ms. Nelson, is here, her lawyer, Ms. Evans Battle, is here, the attorney for defects, Ms. Waller, is here, Mr. Houseworth is here, Ms. Wilcox, the defects caseworker, is here. We are scheduled to, regardless of what happens on this case, we're still scheduled, well, it might make a difference with Mr. Houseworth, but with Mom, and we'll still be back for that review on May the 15th at 9 o'clock. So just don't forget about that date. All right, Ms. Crane.
Thank you, Your Honor. We filed a motion on behalf of Mr. Houseworth to establish temporary custody of the child Zayden. And I'm just going to go ahead and put Mr. Houseworth up as first witness.
Has he legitimated during this proceeding?
He has, Your Honor. That's something that we'll go through in his testimony, but he has legitimated the child through this proceeding.
I thought he had. I just want to make sure. Go ahead.
Okay. Mr. Houseworth, you are the biological father of Zayden.
Yes, I am.
And what is Zayden's date of birth?
2014.
And how old does that make him?
8 years old.
Okay. And during the course of the case that is before the juvenile court, this dependency action, did you have the opportunity to legitimate Zayden?
You say before this?
No, during this. During this case before the court, did you have the opportunity to legitimate Zayden?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Did the court grant you an order of legitimation?
Yes.
Okay. And does Zayden currently reside with you?
Yes.
And how long has Zayden been in your care?
For about 6 months.
6 months. Okay. And is Zayden enrolled in school?
Yes.
Okay. And where is he enrolled in school?
Elementary, Clayton County.
Okay. What grade is he in?
He in the 2nd grade.
Okay. And how is Zayden doing in school now?
He doing great. He making everything above 90s.
Okay. And do you have any knowledge as to before he came to live with you, did he attend school?
When I took him out of school, he had missed a lot of days from his old school. And that was part of the problem. I guess while he was in defect, I don't know, but he didn't attend school like he was supposed to.
Okay. And were you aware of how his grades were in his previous school?
No, I wasn't.
Okay. And right now that Zayden is with you, besides going to school, have you established him with a pediatrician, a doctor? Is he receiving his medical care the way he should?
Yes, I enrolled him on my insurance immediately as soon as I got him. So he already had his physical, dental, eyes, everything. He had everything.
Okay. And is Zayden involved in any community activities? Anything in the community, sports or anything like that?
No, I haven't enrolled him in the sports as of now, but you know, we go out for family and we go out bowling, and I take him to the place in Fayetteville called Fun Spot. Like, I do a lot of activity with him.
Okay. And who lives in the home with you and Zayden?
Just me, my wife, and my stepdaughter.
Okay.
And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I say anxiety.
Okay. And what is the relationship like between Zayden and your wife and your stepdaughter?
Oh, everything's great. I mean, it's like he always been in the family.
Okay. And do you have adequate space there in your home for Zayden?
Yes, he have his own room.
He has his own room?
Yeah.
Okay. And are you asking the court today to grant you temporary custody while this case is ongoing so that Zayden can stay in your care until the mother can work her reunification plan?
That's correct.
Okay. And do you understand, Mr. Houseworth, the nature of temporary custody as it relates to these proceedings?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And you are willing and able to temporarily provide for Ziden while this case is pending?
Yes, I am. I'm able, very able.
Okay. And is it your opinion that it's in your child's best interest to remain where he is?
Yes, ma'am. He tell me all the time.
Okay. So he's expressed to you that he is enjoying his time with you?
Every day.
Okay. Okay, that's good. That's good. Are there any are there any services, because I'm not sure, are there any services that the department is requiring you to provide for Ziden, or are you having to take him to counseling, or are they having you do any services?
Well, last Thursday he had a trauma test, and the lady told me that she think he might have had some trauma from things he seen when he was with his mom. I don't know what he said to her, but he talked to her alone. I wasn't in the room, but 9
Okay.
times out of 10, I probably have to get him some counseling.
Okay. Is that something that you've looked into?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna make sure I do whatever it takes to make sure he gonna be okay.
Okay. And to your knowledge right now, are you in compliance with anything that the department has wanted you to do?
No,
Let me rephrase that so you understand. Has the department asked you to do anything?
no,
Okay, so you haven't been asked to take any classes or do any assessments or anything like that?
no. I didn't take. Well, I guess that might have been considered as assessment the first time, but I heard nothing else about taking no assessment testing.
Okay, all right. Is there anything else that you'd like the court to know about Ziden's placement with you and your request for temporary custody?
Yeah, I just want my son to remain with me. So, you know, because we worked so hard on getting the grades up. Because when he first came, his grades were like in the 70s and close to failing. And, you know, the school teachers, they helping me out in after school program. And, you know, every day I go pick him up out of after school and we sit down, do his homework, and he got a good understanding of what he's doing now. And I just want to continue to do that. So, you know, to better him.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Houseworth. Your Honor, that's all I have, Mr. Houseworth.
Mr. Houseworth, you had mentioned that Ziden had kind of a full medical workup. You enrolled him in your insurance, took him to see some doctors. Did he have any conditions or health problems that needed to be treated?
No, he's very healthy.
Okay. You touched on this briefly, that Ziden says he's enjoying his time with you. Has he expressed a preference of where he wants to live?
Yes, with me.
He said he wants to live with you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. That's all I have. Thank you.
Did I hear you in response to her last question, one before that you have your child on your group health insurance through your employer?
Yes, sir. I'm with Kaiser.
Okay. Well, he's still in the legal custody of DFACS, isn't he? So how would you be able to put him on your private insurance?
I just enrolled him in.
Did they ask you to see where you had custody or anything?
They know that because I turned the paperwork in showing that it was temporary custody at the time with the paperwork that I had. And so I took it on my behalf to put the insurance on.
Well, that's fine. I'm not, listen, my question was not fussing at you. I'm just trying to get clarification. If you already have temporary custody, why are we here today asking for temporary custody again?
No, Your Honor, it's not temporary custody. Mr.
I
Houseworth,
know, I remember us placing him physically with you, but I did not realize we gave him temporary custody.
it's not temporary custody, and I believe that it's just a miscommunication or misuse of the word. I believe that what Mr. Houseworth was given was the authority to seek medical care for the child, things like that, as a placement would.
Okay.
And so I imagine that he just gave the insurance company whatever paperwork he had from DFACS and they took it.
Okay. I just didn't know why we were going down that road if we already had been down that road.
We have not.
Okay. Everybody agree that Ms. Crane has straightened me out correctly?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm sorry. Who was Ms. Evans Battle? I think you're next.
Yes, Mr. Houseworth, before the child came into your care, what attempts did you make to legitimize the child?
I didn't make no attempt to legitimize him.
What attempts did you make to support the child?
I have tried to make some calls and get in touch, but I could never get in touch with Courtney. Her number always changing, her address always changing. I couldn't keep up with her. So
Did you attempt to go through child support recovery?
no, I didn't.
Was there a time in which Zaiden has been in the presence of domestic violence between you and the mother?
No,
And in, what's his age? In 2013, was there not an investigation by the Department of Family and Children Service in regards to a domestic incident involving you and Miss?
yes, it was an incident back in 2013, but it got resolved. We went down to the police station and we had to sign off on papers saying that the state would not pick it up because it didn't happen. We both went down there and had to do our testimony on what happened, and it wasn't what it seemed. You know how people get angry and call the police and make up things, and then they have to fix it because they don't messed up, that type of situation.
Okay, so you all agreed to dismiss it, and that was how that was resolved, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And in 2018, the same thing.
I don't know nothing about it.
Okay. Well, that was, did you not end your relationship in 2018?
Did I end the relationship?
Did you all end your relationship in 2018?
Was it 2018? Maybe. Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure.
And then isn't it true that that was because of an incident of domestic violence between the two of you?
No, it wasn't. That was not the case. Ms. Nelson.
Okay, that's all you said it wasn't the situation. You've answered my question. Can I, in reference to you're currently having the child, when the department gave you, placed the child with you, can you tell me, you all conducted had a CCFA meeting that required you to do a parental fitness evaluation? Do you remember that?
I already done it over the phone.
You did it over the telephone?
Yes, ma'am.
And there was just a line of questions you were given by a provider?
Yes, ma'am.
Did they ask you in reference to anything relationship to domestic violence?
Yes.
And what was your response?
I didn't have no domestic violence. That was my response.
Did they make a recommendation for parenting classes?
No.
You indicated that you have taken him to the pediatrician, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Did you notify Ms. Nelson when you were taking him to the pediatrician?
I didn't know I was supposed to.
Okay, do you have a copy of the court order and plans and the case plan?
Yes, I do.
Okay, then. So none of the visits, the dental visit, pediatrician, physical, any of that, none of that, when that occurred, you notified Ms. Nelson?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I sent the records over to Ms. Wilcox.
All right, but that was after the fact, correct?
After the fact of what?
After the visits, you sent the records to Ms. Wilcox, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you indicated his enrollment in school. Do you send Ms. Nelson information in reference to his grades or activities he's participating in the school?
No, I didn't know I was supposed to.
Do you speak with Ms. Nelson in reference to visitation?
No, because CPS picks him up and take him down there.
Okay. What about video conferencing?
Yes, she talked to him on video chat.
Okay. And has she consistently talked with him since he's been in your care?
They haven't been consistently. I just got him a phone, and so now she got a way to get in touch with him.
Okay. So before it wasn't consistent because he didn't have the means.
Right.
Has there been a time recently when you've used inappropriate language in reference to an iPhone, I'm sorry, iWatch being taken from him?
No, I watch. He don't even have an iWatch.
Or does he have a watch, like a smart watch?
He don't have a watch. He just have a phone.
Okay. Okay, and it's your testimony earlier that you wanted to have temporary custody while this case is pending, correct?
That's correct.
Have you spoke about a form of parenting plan for you and Ms. Nelson to come up with?
We haven't discussed that.
And can you tell me what, if anything, you think Ms. Nelson should do in order to have custody returned to her?
What do I think she could do?
Yes.
Get a place to stay where she can, have her kids comfortable. If she's using drugs, stop using drugs. Just take care of your kids. I didn't put her in this situation.
All right then. And once she does those things, would you be willing for the child to be returned to her?
Not really. I mean, I'd rather keep him because he in a good school system. He's doing great. I just want my son to be successful. I got him in a great environment. I can provide a lot of things for him without government assistance. I can do everything on my own.
Okay. Do you have some information that Ms. Nelson is using government assistance?
No, I don't.
All right, I just want to make sure. That's all I have.
Ms. Miller?
Is the child happy in your care?
He loved being with me.
Is
I love being with him.
is the child thriving?
Is he thriving?
Yes, in your care.
Yes.
I have nothing further, Judge.
Anything on redirect? Ms. Crane?
No, Your Honor.
All right. You have any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
All right. So we can move to the competing motion filed by Ms. Evans Battle for reunification just with this child. Is that right, Ms. Evans Battle?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can call your first witness.
Call Ms. Wilcox. When did you become the case manager in this particular case? Can you remind me?
The end of December 2022.
All right. And since that time, what are the services that the department has provided for the family that includes Ziden?
Okay, so there has been a parental fitness for mother, a psychological evaluation for mother. There has been a substance abuse evaluation for mother, random drug screens for mother, individual counseling for mother, parental education for mother. Recently, there was level 1 outpatient referred for mother. And there's transportation MBA services for supervised parent-child visits.
Okay. And as to the parent fitness assessment, what was the recommended services?
Read all the recommendations for the parent fitness assessment for mom.
Well, I guess you could.
Okay. So they should participate in 24 units in order to learn how untreated mental health and substance use needs can impact her parenting. She should participate in a psychological evaluation, determine the presence of a mood disorder or other mental health conditions based on her persistent mood liability, circumstantial thoughts, process, and speech, and erratic behavior. The evaluation will also aid in identifying if her symptoms are primarily associated with mood disorder or substance use disorder. She is encouraged to follow all recommendations of psych provider. Individual counseling, 24 units is recommended to assist Ms. Nelson with developing skills and strategies to address symptoms that may be indicated of a mood disorder, particularly if she does not participate in counseling services through the VA. Ms. Nelson should adhere to all recommendations of her substance abuse assessment, including ASAM level 1 treatment and random drug screens. If Ms. Nelson begins treatment of mental health services with the VA, a release of info should be signed to monitor her compliance with the treatment recommendations.
Okay. And so consistent with that, you set up the 24 hours of individual therapy. Is that correct?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Has she completed those units?
She's still, they're still conducting individual therapy as we speak.
Okay, but has she completed the first 24 units?
I am not sure on the hours. I have dates that she's participated in sessions.
Okay, well, the dates and the sessions having been complete, it's my understanding, well, let me ask you, is it your understanding that she completes 2 hours twice a week?
It looks like it equals out to that. I'm not sure how long the sessions are.
Okay, all right then. And this would have started, when did she begin the services for individual counseling?
So do you want me just to give that date? It will
Yes.
be February 15th, 2023,
And when did you make the referral?
February 8th.
And the assessment was actually completed December the 2nd, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And the other recommendations, not from that, along with the recommendations from substance abuse, was there a number of units she needed to complete or a level that she needed to complete?
Yes. So for the parent, I'm sorry, did I interrupt the question?
No, you didn't.
So for parenting education, the recommendation was also 24 units, and that was also being provided by the therapist. So the level 1 outpatient, even though it was referred several times, it just recently been picked up for a 3rd time by a provider.
And when did you make the first referral for it?
So the first referral was made on 3/8, I believe. And it was originally picked up by Georgia Rehabilitation Counseling Services.
And she's been getting consistent drug screens?
They've been offered consistently.
I'm sorry?
They've been offered consistently.
Okay. Has she refused drug screens?
So there was some times back in February where she wasn't compliant.
And how did that occur?
Well, there was issues where the drug screener will come out to the home, and they will come in, the days of her visitation.
Okay.
So,
And that was, so it was during her visitation they wanted to screen her?
yes, because
Okay.
they knew where she would be.
All right.
Okay.
Had you made them aware that the court had indicated previously that they were not to screen her during her visits?
Yes, and so that was also referred to specimens.
Which is a different provider?
Well, I have referred her to specimens. However, her family prayers case manager has also referred for drug screens. So she's like being screened multiple times a month.
And does it appear from the drug screens that I know that she initially had a drug screen with the results being positive for meth and for amphetamines. Were you able to confirm based on her medications that they could result in false positives?
No, I was not able to confirm.
Did you make an attempt to confirm?
Yes, but I was redirected to another person to contact within specimens.
Okay, so you're still investigating that situation?
Correct.
Okay. But just looking at the screens alone, do they suggest that if she were in fact using drugs or her prescription medication, that there's been a decrease in the amount located in her system?
Well, I have to say for the month of February, we were not able to obtain any screens from her.
Okay, but since then?
Since then, she has not tested in the month of March and the one screen in April for the methamphetamines.
Is she receiving substance abuse treatment as part of her work with Ms. Jones?
No,
Do you get a chance to speak with Zaiden on a monthly basis?
I have,
Okay, do you see him in person?
I do.
Okay. Did you receive information as to whether his, school work, his school standings?
He is progressing in school. I was able to see a test or two where he did accomplish 100%. So the department did not have any concerns with his education,
Okay.
his academics at this time.
As far as you are aware, is Ms. Nelson compliant with things that you've asked her to do?
Something, yes.
Can you tell me, as far as her case plan, has she done everything that's been referred on her case plan? I guess is the better question.
No, things are ongoing and there's still information that's needed by the department.
Okay.
Confirmation of what?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Confirmation of what?
I said there's still information that's needed.
Oh, information. I thought you said
Yes.
information. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Ms. Evans Battle.
Okay. Well, what information that's on her case plan that she's not provided to you?
Okay, so there is, there was asked, she provided me 2 release of infos, but they were specifically for, one for the VA and one for specimens. There has been no information provided to me about her prescription. She did tell me about the blood pressure medication. However, there was no documentation provided. When it comes to income, she did provide me a 2022 tax return information, but there has been no current income verification. She is currently, or from my understanding, currently still staying with her mother. So there haven't been any updates for housing.
Okay. Now, the VA information, she was just to give you a release of information if she was using those services, correct?
Correct,
Okay, so she's not using those services as far as you know, correct?
correct.
Okay, so there will be no expectation for her to give you the release of information, correct?
Well, at this time, I already have it, but
Okay,
when I was obtaining this information,
all right then.
that's when I found out she was not using it.
Okay, okay. And the income verification is something that you would need if the court were to return the child to her. Is that not part of the case plan?
That is part of the case plan,
Okay,
verification of information. I'm sorry, verification of employment or income.
okay. When you, I know what the question was. When you speak with Zaiden, do you take him to a separate place to speak with him?
Yes, we speak in his room, which is located on the 2nd floor.
Okay.
I do not close the door all the way. However, I do pull it up, but I do not close it all the way.
Okay,
And he has his own room. The times I came, there was no one upstairs on the 2nd floor.
all right.
And I'm sorry, there was a time I spoke with him in the living room. However, Dad was outside tending to something.
Okay. I think that's all I have.
Ms. Wilcox,
Yes, ma'am.
would you say that Zaiden is doing well in his current placement?
He appears to be when I meet with him.
Okay. And do you have any concerns about his current placement?
I do not. The department does not.
The department does not. Okay. And I just want to make sure that I understand your testimony today. The case plan for the mother is ongoing.
It is.
I believe that's all we have. Thank you.
Ms. Waller?
Ms. Wilcox, in speaking with Zaiden, has he expressed a preference in where he wants to live?
He likes where he lives. He likes his own room and being with his dad.
So he wants to stay with his dad?
Correct.
What is the department's position as to where Zaiden should be?
We recommend that he also stays with dad. He's stable. His education is thriving. Dad seems to be, covering his medical, dental, vision.
All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Ms. Miller?
Are the mother's visitation with the child still supervised?
It is, yes, ma'am.
So the mother hasn't even moved from supervised visitation to unsupervised visitation?
No, ma'am.
And without going into the trauma assessment that the child received, were there some concerns? Did the child disclose some concerns about what was going on in the mother's house with the stepdad?
Yes,
Does the department have concerns with that they're going to address with the mother?
yes,
And was I think you testified to this, but was the mother most recently, her positive for methamphetamine was January of 2023?
let me check the dates, please. January 12th.
2023.
Yes, ma'am.
And what was it positive for?
Her hair was positive for methamphetamine, and her urine was positive for amphetamine and methamphetamine.
That's all I have, Judge.
And you haven't been able to get any drug screens since January?
We did not get any drug screens from her in February, but March and April 9th, we have obtained screens.
And what were the results of them?
So on 3/1, Ms. Nelson had a negative urine. On 3/23, she had a positive for alcohol in her urine. On 3/28, there was a missed attempt. On 3/30, she had a urine, which was negative. And on April 6th, she had a urine, which is negative.
What happened to the hair follicle screens that you had been taking? I didn't hear anything but urine. March and April.
We're gonna have to get a hair.
Why didn't you get them? What, your technician couldn't do it, or she wouldn't do it, or what?
I would have to follow up with the technician because it's referred as hair, random hair and urine.
Yeah, well, and y'all usually do that in cases. That's why I was
The
surprised to hear.
referral is for hair and urine.
Yeah. But that wouldn't they have reported back if she, and I've had a couple of people having to give up their hair specimen. They don't want their hair cut and all this stuff. You didn't get any word back if that was the problem.
No, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Well, do you have an estimation as to how far mom is from reunifying with her children in terms of months or days?
Mom has to continue to be compliant with her case plan, as she is still obtaining housing, adequate housing for her and her children, or her and her family. So the department can't give a date or, approximate. It depends on mother.
But it's your opinion that today is not the day.
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Did you or your agency ask Mr. Houseworth to seek temporary custody of Ziden?
I cannot speak on other case managers who has touched this case. When I met Mr. Houseworth, he was under the impression that he would go for temporary custody.
He was under the impression that what?
I mean, he spoke on it when
okay.
when I obtained a case,
Okay.
but I cannot speak on the other case managers who has touched the case.
Okay. And you've had it since the end of last year?
Yes, but I met Mr. Houseworth actually in January. I got the case and I went on vacation.
But you haven't encouraged him or discouraged him to seek temporary custody.
I do not believe I did either.
I'm asking you, did you? You said you don't think you did either one?
No, I don't.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. What if changing him from legal temporary custody of the department and placement with him versus temporary custody to him, how does that affect your handling the reunification case of the mother?
Mother still has other children in care.
I understand.
She still has to continue with her services and be compliant and engaged and we go by the recommendation of the professionals that we refer these cases to provide recommendation as to the completion of her services.
When was the trauma assessment done of Ziden?
So I referred the trauma assessment when I came on board because I did not see one completed when the CCFA was completed. So they just I think it was one other time they had scheduled to do it, but it didn't fit within the schedule. So it
When
was
did it get
changed.
done?
I'm sorry, say it again.
When did it get done? Mr. He
just
testified that he took the kid to the test. When was it done?
It was conducted last week.
Okay. Have you gotten the report?
Yes, today.
Okay. All right. And so you're planning to share that with the parties?
I provided it to Ms. Waller.
Okay. Is she going to provide it to the parties?
Your Honor, I consulted with Mr. Overman. He said I was provided to the guardian ad litem as she is the child's representative, which I did today.
Mhm.
I got it, Judge.
Well, the implication from some of the testimony was that there are some things that mom may need to address, and how's she going to address it if you don't share it with her?
My understanding that the assessments are not to be shared with the parent. They might be shared with the attorney, but they're not to be disclosed to the client.
Well, we didn't get it, so.
Well, she said she'd only given it to Ms. Miller, so she said she hadn't given it to you or to Ms. Crane. Well, I'm ordering you to share it with the lawyers, and then we're going to be back in May. If it needs to be addressed sooner, I mean, I don't know how you can, how can Ms. Evans Battle even intelligently discuss the impact of that report with her client without telling her what's in the report?
I'll make sure to share it today, Judge.
Yeah. But don't hand the reports to your clients until we talk further, but you can discuss them with your clients. Because I had somebody asked the question of Ms. Wilcox if there were some ramifications from that report in terms of things that mom was going to have to do, and I took that to mean yes, whatever the answer was. So that means mom's got some more stuff to do on her case plan. But Ms. Wilcox, getting back to my question, how does the child's legal status with dad temporarily versus with the department temporarily affect mom's reunification case plan? Does it affect it in any way? It shouldn't. But the problem is the law says you don't have to provide services when a child is not in your care. Now, there's an exception if the child has been in your care, which certainly the child has, but I just don't see what we're accomplishing if the ultimate goal is the reunification case plan for the legal parent, and now the dad is the co-legal parent, but wasn't through most of this case. And before that, I don't see what we're gaining by he's already got the child with him. He's got the child on insurance. What are we gaining by giving him temporary custody? Maybe the question should be posed, and I'll let Ms. Crane address that after you try to address it. But I don't see what we're doing.
Where he would be gaining.
Unless somebody told me mom's never going to finish her case plan, that'd be one thing. But because all we're going to do is set up, which is going to happen eventually, is there's going to be a custody battle between these two parents. I'm sorry, I kept talking, so I'm going to shut up now. You can answer if you can answer, Ms. Wilcox.
Okay, so dad, who is the biological and the legal father of the child, also has the right to, as the department always say, we give the parent/guardian the opportunity to get their children out of foster care. We have seen no concerns. Dad has stepped up.
He's not in foster care. I mean, he's in foster care, but he's with us. So
yes.
What's the difference?
And dad has stepped up to the plate by providing a stable housing, providing academics, providing medical, dental. Dad has testified that he will continue providing for Ziden. So the department doesn't feel like there will be a need for him to stay in care if his other parent is providing the care that a parent provides. And as far as services, Dad testified that he will provide anything needed for his son. Mom will continue to get the services because she does not have one child in care, she has 3. So she still needs to continue to be compliant with her case plan and the services that the department provide in order to be able to take care of her all of her children, because there's more than 3.
Well, we only have 3, right?
Yes, but she has other children.
Not in her care.
Their safety plan, there's a safety plan in place. That's
Okay.
the family preservation case.
Okay. How old are those children?
One was born in March, so he's maybe a month old now. And then she has a 13-year-old, a 17-year-old, and a 19. I might have a date. I might have a
Who is
year-
Quintina Harris? Somebody's in my waiting room. I don't know who that is.
My mother,
Whose mother?
Courtney Nelson,
Oh, okay.
the mother.
All right.
But to answer your question, Your Honor, I have a 19-year-old daughter, a 17-year-old son, a 13-year-old son, and a 3-month-old son. He was born January the 10th of 2023.
And the 3-month-old is with you, or was safety placed with whom?
They're all with me, but they told us to stay with my mother.
Okay, so, all right, I got you. Okay, thank you.
But there's no restriction on anything.
And what county is that in?
Henry,
Okay,
Well, so maybe to offer some clarification, Your Honor, Mr. Houseworth was advised by me that he could seek the temporary legal custody of his child through this action. And it is the current position of our higher courts here in Georgia that when a child is found to be dependent as to one parent, and there is another parent available who can take temporary custody of the child, temporary custody of the child being placed with that child's second parent is not just an automatic relief of the department in any obligation to the mother. Now, I understand that I represent Mr. Houseworth. However, this court is within its rights to direct the continued provision of services to any parent who is under a case plan, whether they give temporary custody of the child to the other parent or not. The court also feels, the upper courts have also held, actually, that if this court were to not direct a continuation of services by the department, that this case would simply become a private dependency action. The mother would still need to work towards reunification. So I want to make sure that the court understands that while I know that sometimes this is put out there like this is 2 parents scrambling for custody of a child, Mr. Houseworth is fully aware what temporary custody means. He understands that this child's mother is to continue working towards reunification. I do have a concern, and I believe that it's a valid question as to why there are 3 children, but only one of them is being sought. As far as reunification goes, only Zidon is the child being sought for reunification when there are 3 children who need to be reunited potentially with their mother. But I would disagree personally that it just relieves the department 100%. That does not need to be the case. And so the point would be that the child is placed in the temporary custody of his father to allow for the stability, and the department can be relieved of custody without being relieved of the obligation to provide services.
okay.
Well, Judge, we have not heard from the mother in this particular case.
Was everybody through with Ms. Wilcox?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. I knew we weren't through.
Okay, I think the mother wanted Ms. Harris to testify about in reference to the incident involving Mr. Houseworth.
That's fine. I let her in. Didn't she hear?
Yes. And Ms. Harris, are you aware of any incidents of domestic violence between your daughter and Mr. Houseworth?
I am, and I am aware of a past incident, yes.
Okay, what information do you have in reference to the past incident?
Now, I'm not sure of the date, definitively, but I do recall an incident. They were living, I think it was in the Henry County Jackson line. I received a call from my daughter, Courtney Nelson, saying that, asking, can I come and pick her up? Because there had been an altercation. I did hear some officers in the background. I'm sorry, my phone acts up sometimes. I heard some officers in the background, and he told me that they had been called to the store because Courtney had left the house because there had been a incident. She did have a wound to the back of her head, and she wanted to seek medical attention to that. But since she had Zayden with her, she didn't want to leave in the ambulance. So they asked if I would be okay with taking her to the hospital. So I did. I took Zayden to my home so that my other granddaughter and my mom could keep an eye on him. And I took her to Piedmont Henry, where they did tend to her wound in her head. And she did give a statement to what happened at the hospital, and she gave a statement to the officers. Now, what they did from that as far as the officer, I'm not sure, but I was there after everything had happened to take her to the hospital.
Okay, thank you. I guess in reference to the current status, Courtney is living with you with her children, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Would Zayden be able to live in the home or return to the home at this time with you all?
Absolutely.
Okay. As far as you know, has Ms. Nelson been compliant with the services or the safety plan that you have in place?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Have you had an opportunity to speak with Ms. Wilcox, the case manager in the case?
I've spoken to a couple of people. I don't remember names per se, but
Okay.
I have spoken to a couple of people.
Okay. Are you present when the children visit the home?
I am.
Okay. Can you tell me how the visits take place?
Usually they're there before I get there because I come from another county for work. And I try to get there at the top end of the visit. But when I come in, of course, I love on the kids. They give me a hug and I play with them. And we sit around in the living room and they play with their toys and play with each other. And then Courtney usually fixes them some dinner or something. And I'll pull out their little table, or she'll pull out their table in the living room. They all sit around and they have dinner. We'll either go outside and play or sit in the living room and watch TV and play with them until it's time for them to go.
Is Zayden present during that time period?
He is.
Okay. So he has an opportunity to see his siblings at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did you have any concerns? Well, have you had an opportunity to speak with Zayden in reference to living with his dad?
I have not. When he's there, generally I focus my time on spending time with them. Because I know it's only an hour and sometimes the transportation may be running late. So, and sometimes I'm running late coming from work. So, I always ask them how is school and how it's doing and all of that. But I've not had a one-on-one, conversation just pertaining to strictly that information. I'm just trying to enjoy the time that I have to spend with them since I only get to see them once a week.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody have any questions for Ms. Williams?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon, ma'am. For the incident that you described being told about, the domestic violence incident that you described being told about,
Yes.
did you witness the act of domestic violence?
No, I wasn't there. I got a call from my daughter after when she left the home and went to the store. And she told me what happened, and the officers was there telling me what she had told them had happened, and they were going to go back down to the house.
Okay.
But I wasn't actually there.
Okay. And the only thing that you know is what your daughter told you?
Yes, I know that she said that they got into it. They had an altercation, and I know she had said she had got hit in the back of the head with something. And I know when we went to the hospital, they did see blood and all that kind of stuff when they went through her head, and they had to tend to those wounds.
Okay. But you don't actually know how she got injured?
No, I wasn't there when it actually happened.
Okay. And you said that she lives in your home with the children?
Yes,
Okay, and is this the same home where the infant child was buried?
yes.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
Anybody else?
I
Yes,
just
ma'am.
have a quick one, Judge. The 13-year-old and 17-year-old, are they subject to a safety plan right now with defects?
Are you asking me? I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
We were up under the voluntary kinship initially. And when the last baby was born, they changed it to a safety plan. So she comes in, Miss Gabriella comes in once a month to check on them. She was going by the school or either meeting at the house to check on them to see how they were doing. But they moved it over to just a safety plan now.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? All right, call your next witness, please.
Gabriella, would
Wait,
you,
wait just a second. I thought she was a defects employee who was observing. I didn't swear her in because I didn't think she was testifying.
I didn't think so either, but she is, as my understanding, she is she's with Family Preservation.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, go
And
ahead. I'm sorry. I thought
Would
you.
you raise your right hand, please? You swear the testimony and the evidence you're about to give in the matter pending before this court will be the truth, the whole truth, under penalty of perjury.
Yes. And with Henry County defects?
All right, and you are the case manager for the newborn that Ms. Nelson has, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and I heard the grandmother say that you now supervise a safety plan with the older children?
Yes, and the
Okay, then, and that one. Have you been, can you tell me what services that you have instituted for the family?
So for the family preservation unit, we haven't done any services due to the foster care unit already implementing services and have been. I was only brought on just because of the child that was just born 3 months ago, and then the eldest children.
Okay. Do you did you do any referrals for drug screens?
I did them for Miss Nelson.
Okay, and are they separate and distinct from Miss Wilcox referrals?
Yes, yeah, she uses specimens and I use the medics exam, please.
Okay, and once the drug screens are taken, are they returned to you or are they just placed into the department system?
They're emailed straight to me.
Okay, then. Has there been any concerns with her taking their drug screens?
No, not with ours, no.
Okay, has there been any concerns regarding the results of the screens?
No, just the one screen that had alcohol, but the other ones were negative.
All right. All right.
Are you doing hair or just urine and mouth swabs?
It's just urine, Your Honor.
Okay. And how long have you been giving the screens?
I believe I implemented the service authorization, I think it was towards the end of February, and they didn't start screening her till around March.
All right, great. All right. Are you present have you been present when the children are there?
Yes.
Okay, have you been present when Zaiden has been with his mother?
There was one time I made a visit, and that's when they were having the joint visit with the other 3 children in care. So I did see all of them playing on the floor. I think they were celebrating someone's birthday, I believe, was the day I came over. But.
All right, then did you have any concerns as far as the mother goes in her care for Zaiden on that particular day, since they only had a chance to observe one day?
No, not really. I mean, it was just a regular meeting up with their mom, just having fun and celebrating their birthday and everything.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else have any questions for this witness?
Okay, Your Honor.
No, sir.
No, Judge.
All right, call your next witness.
Call Courtney Nelson.
All right, she's under oath.
Ms. Nelson, when you received the recommendations from the Department of Family and Children Services, have you followed through on all of those recommendations?
I followed through with the recommendations for the services that I was provided.
Okay, and right now, what services are you completing?
Beginning in February, I started doing therapy sessions and parental fitness sessions with Mrs. Jones.
Okay, has there been any, and I heard the department say that they've not instituted the substance abuse recommendations. They're just now beginning that in just beginning that, correct?
Well, to my knowledge, they haven't even begun yet because I still haven't been contacted by anybody in reference to that. That there has not even been anything that was brought up as far as referrals or recommendations through the provider.
Okay. And as to your 24 units that you needed to do for individual counseling, do you know how far along you are?
At
How
this
many hours you
point,
have left?
well, I apologize. I should only have maybe one session left, actually.
Okay, and that would include the parenting education portion of it?
The parenting education, yes, ma'am.
Okay, and when did you give Ms. Wilcox the information regarding your blood pressure medication?
On the day me and Ms. Wilcox first met, which was after court around January the 30th, maybe the 29th, the court that we had then, she came by my house to do our initial meeting. And on that date, I provided her documentation about a list of medications that could possibly cause false positives. And also I gave her my pill bottle of the medicine. But previously, before that, I had submitted my prescription and my prescription list for my hospital providers through other workers as well.
Okay. And have you, when Zayden was with you, did you have medical insurance for him?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you take him to medical appointments and to the dentist?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he live in your home, your location that you were at?
Yes, ma'am.
And isn't it true that as far as his missing days, was there some issue going on with the school transportation?
Yes, ma'am. When we moved, yes, ma'am.
And what was the issue with the school?
When we moved from our last home, I had to enroll him under the McKinley Vento, because during the VA, they placed us in an extended stay hotel while we was waiting for our first house to get built and then waiting to find another adequate housing when that one didn't go through. And they were supposed to provide transportation and after school care under that law. But ever since he got enrolled in January, they never ever provided transportations regardless of multiple attempts. And we happened to go to the Georgia Department of Education and file a complaint with them. And that's when they finally did start transportation the next day. But that wasn't until the beginning of October of 2022.
All right then, and then he was removed from the home in November. Is there, what has Zayden told you in reference to his living with his dad?
He said he likes it there. Everybody is nice to him. He has his own room. He likes that, but he doesn't really have that many people to play with because he's used to being around like all his sisters and brothers and stuff.
Has he voiced any concerns about living with his dad?
The major concern I would say was the fact he said he likes living with his dad and he wants to live with his dad because if he comes back with me, he's scared that he won't be able to see his dad again anymore because he's not used to seeing him and he don't want to not be able to see him again.
Okay, have you assured him that that would not be the situation?
Yeah, I mean, we discussed it as far as, why he wasn't seeing his dad like before. And I told him that we'll continue to get in touch with him and his dad will come and get him and all of that, and everything will be fine.
Okay.
And aside from that, I'm sorry.
Okay. And, but has he voiced any other concerns? Has talked about any other incidents that may have been
Yes.
concerning to you?
To me, yes. When I talked to him like a week ago, he said he had an Apple Watch and a boy at school took his Apple Watch from, well, he said he lost it at first. And then he was like, I know who had it, but I didn't get it back. I was like, why? He said he don't know. He said he got home and he told his dad that the boy took his watch, and his dad called him a punk and a sissy for letting somebody take his stuff. He said he told my stepmom and my sister and everybody, he told everyone about it. And he called me a punk and a sissy.
Okay. And I think he already testified that you haven't been apprised. Did Ms. Wilcox apprise you of any medical appointments the child may have had or any school conferences?
No, ma'am, I wasn't aware, but from the very beginning, I have always asked to be made known of any upcoming appointments so that if I was able to, I could be involved and be there, and also have an input as far as like any kind of treatment in the event that it was something that was serious that needed to be done, because I am his mother and I would also like to be involved in what's going on with him, especially if it's a new occurring event or something that I wasn't aware of even.
Okay. And as far as his grades are concerned, they indicated that he gets high grades. Is that typically been his habit of having high grades?
Oh yes, he has always done like very well in school. It was just like the transportation issues. I think he kind of became a little bit like less confident, I guess, a little bit. So, I mean, we would like work together, and it wasn't like a detrimental amount of school, but just not having that flow, I guess. But I'm proud that he is back into that flow and he's gained that confidence back. But he has always excelled and did good in school. It was just like the confidence booster, just getting back in the groove.
Do you think that Mr. Houseworth should have temporary custody at this time?
Temporary custody, I wouldn't go as far as to say that, no, ma'am.
Okay. Are you asking the court to return Zayden to you at this time?
Yes.
That's all I have, Judge.
Anyone have any questions on cross for the mother?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Ms. Nelson, why are you not asking this court to return all of your children to you at this time?
And I have done that on multiple occasions, but since this was the issue that was being addressed, I figured I would just address this one, since this is the one that's presented to the court from Mrs. Houseworth's standpoint.
And I'll just say that is based on, that was my decision at this particular time.
Ms. Nelson, you are maintaining that you have substantially completed your case plan?
I have, to the best of my ability thus far, yes.
Okay. But you didn't think that having all of your children returned would be appropriate at this time?
Oh, it would be appropriate at any time. But since we're here about Zayden and that's with the issue that we're concerned with, I figured it will go through that. And we'll handle it a step at a time.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
Anybody else?
Just one, Your Honor. Ms. Nelson, you said you provided documentation regarding medication that can make false or indicate a false positive on drug screens.
Mm-hmm.
From where did the documentation come? Was that from a doctor?
Well, the documentation on the DHS, the Department of Human Services website, under you guys' policy regarding the drug test policies and procedures, you guys cited information on that from the NHCI website.med. And also it was cited under that same website that you guys use for that documentation, that it was a list of medications that included that one that would cause a false positive. And also with that narrative, it has also been proven from just previous hospital records and things of that nature. case
Okay,
study.
so from an internet resource, not from a provider.
The same one you guys use for your drug testing policies under defects, guidelines, and procedures.
All right, nothing further. Thank you.
Can I just respond to that? Did you receive from did you receive a discharge summary from the hospital that included that medication list?
Yes, most of the time.
Did you provide, was that what you provided to Ms. Wilcox or previous? I want to say I thought it was a previous case manager, but.
Yes, ma'am. I provided it ever since my kids were taken into custody. I gave them medication list, prescriptions, and all of that information and what it was used for, and also the notion that it could cause a false positive.
Okay, and then the other information was, strike that. That's all.
Anybody else?
No, sir.
Call your next witness.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
What's the mother's current visitation schedule? I know there was some discussion about a transporter being involved. What's her current visitation?
It's supervised at the maternal grandmother's house. I don't know how many
Where
times.
she's living with these other kids, right?
Yes, sir.
Tell me what the schedule is, please. Ms. Wilcox, do you know?
Yes, sir. So on Tuesday, she has visits with all three children supervised from 5 to 7. On Thursday, she has visitation with the two younger kids from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. So she has Tuesdays and Thursdays. However, Zayden only participates in the Tuesdays from 5 to 7 because her second visit is during school time and he's in school.
Okay. How about a weekend for Zayden to come over?
There was a third day added for the other dad and the other children to accommodate his visits, but Zayden only had the Tuesdays from 5 to 7.
And that is supervised by grandmother, Ms. Harris, who's here with us?
No, the department provided a BA and a transporter. Actually, on Tuesdays, there's two transporters. There's a transporter to transport Zayden and another transporter to transport the other two kids. And then the transporter for the other two kids is who supervises the visit as of 2 weeks ago. And then I just obtained a new transporter and BA on last week to cover the visits.
So the two younger children get 2 visits a week and Zayden gets 1?
Yes.
Okay. I want these hair follicles. And from the evidence that I've heard, Ms. Nelson, it sounds like you're not doing all you could do to make yourself available for those. I don't think the department is maybe followed up as closely as they could, but for somebody who's the drug issue is very prevalent, we've got to have a sustained period of proven abstinence, and we don't have that when we keep having 2 and 3 month gaps, which is what we look like we've got now with no drug screens. So I need the department needs to screen her at least twice, well, at least 3 urine screens and a hair follicle now and a hair follicle right before court on the 15th. I want you to expand Zayden to have another supervised visit. I'm fine with this grandmother. If she's willing, there may be too many in there if she doesn't feel comfortable supervising it, but he should be having 2 visits a week. And one of them sounds like it's going to have to be on the weekend. I'm taking both of these motions under advisement. I can tell you the reason I'm doing that is because we're going to have a review on May the 15th. Mom, you got to make a lot more headway than you've made so far. I'm glad you've made progress, but I'm going to give you this last month to see if you move up the pace. Because if I ruled today, I would deny your request to reunify. I'm not going to rule on either one of them until I see what's going on between now and then. Y'all are not to just badmouth each other in the presence of the child. If you can't talk and be civil to each other, then you just don't need to be talking. But I expect DFACS and Mr. Houseworth to share medical appointments with the mother in advance so she can attend if she wants to or can. And school progress reports need to be shared with her. And I will see y'all back on the 15th at 9 o'clock on Zoom. Isn't that on Zoom, Jessica? Thank y'all for your time, and you folks who came as witnesses. I appreciate you coming and sharing with us.
Thank you.
Who's going to prepare that order for circulation to the lawyers?
I will, Judge.
Thank you. Please circulate it and send it to Robin, and then I'll look at it when y'all have had a chance to look at it.
Yes, Your Honor.
Y'all have a good evening. Oh, wait. Are you, Miss Nelson? I'm sorry, this is going to sound personal, and it is, but I can't. Is that your hair right now, or are you wearing a hairpiece? You are? Okay. I'm sorry, but I don't want you to do anything to your own natural hair, to dye it, bleach it, discolor it, or anything, okay? Because it can alter the hair follicle test. So whatever your natural hair is, I want them to be able to get that hair, okay? You've done a hair follicle before, okay? All right. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Judge.
Bye-bye.